Today we're going to be discussing clutter and privilege. So privilege isn't necessarily a topic that everybody feels comfortable discussing. I do feel that it's important to kind of start off your journey with the realization that clutter is a first world problem and you're privileged to be able to have too much stuff. So I'm not saying this to make you feel guilty, because I, as a Catholic, deeply feel guilty when I am confronted with my excess, but just to think about disposing of these excess items responsibly. So just in perspective, if you live in North America and you live in a first world nation and you make the average American salary is $30,000, around there, around $60,000 for a household. So again, that's the average American. I know that many people are not living at that level and that there's many people that are above that. But just as a barometer, if you follow that average, Americans are the 1% of the wealthiest, well-to-do people in the world. So that's considering people who live in abject poverty, that, pick through dumpsters for a living, that don't have access to food, don't have access to clean water, are exploited to child labor. Again, this is not to make you feel guilty, it's just to realize that when we get rid of our stuff, that kind of has a ripple impact, not just on yourself, but the items themselves, which end up, if you donate to Goodwill and they have excess, that gets shipped and sold to another country. So just putting in perspective the fact that you belong in the richest 1% of the world, how do you responsibly dispose of the items that you no longer need, that no longer bring you joy? If these are items that can be of use to someone else, I strongly suggest that you donate them. We oftentimes get caught in this trap, and I've gotten caught in this trap too, where you feel like you look at the item and you feel that it has value, especially if you remember how much you paid for it, or if you paid for it and didn't use it, and that you can somehow extract that value back by selling it. Now, for high ticket items, like if you're selling a video camera, or you have some collectibles, I strongly suggest that you do convert those to cash. But if it's just an item that is just like an item of clothing or baby stuff, if you're not planning on having a garage sale, those kind of secondhand items can actually be surprisingly hard to get rid of. So a lot of people just take the hassle of not selling it by donating larger items such as sofas, which are difficult to haul away. There's an article that you can find about how millennials don't want their parents and grandparents big brown furniture. So there's these items that you do have to give away for free, even though you may have paid $2,000 for this immense dining set. The real market value of that is actually not what you paid for it. So that's something that you have to realize, one, when you're purchasing the item, and two, when you're disposing of it. Just because it's precious to you, you cannot necessarily convert that to cash. So be realistic about what you're going to sell. Try to donate the rest. Donate responsibly. I know that there's a number of people that I know personally that they won't donate to either Goodwill or Salvation Army, because those organizations have some facets of them that are problematic, which I won't get into. But if you're interested in looking, there's plenty of information out there. A lot of our donated clothing ends up being sold to secondhand to other countries. And you may or may not know this. If you live in California, you may know that a lot of the recycling centers are starting to shut down because China no longer wants our plastic. So where our waste ends up is a real thing, and it's a problem that Americans have. It's a problem that I have. It's a problem that you probably have, is just, again, this privilege of excess. So if you are willing to donate it, I strongly suggest that. You'll also hear me using terms like bin it, trash it, get rid of it, dump it, and that is kind of flippant, and it really does. That's kind of why I wanted to address this here, is that I don't mean just throw it in the trash, especially if it can be of some use. I also don't want to be flip about throwing things away that are important, and as Marie Kondo says, it's really important to thank the item and let it go. And it's part of her belief system and the belief system of a big majority of people in Japan, that objects and inanimate objects actually have a soul and they have an energy. So to treat those things with respect, just think about it. Again, don't feel guilty. I probably feel guilty enough for both of us and everybody else. And again, I just want you to be mindful, and thank you for listening.